Chapter 1. A Girl from Swat Valley. Once upon a time, nestled in the majestic mountains of the Swat Valley, lay the bustling town of Mingora. This was where our story began, with a little girl named Malala Yousafzai. Born on a warm summer day in 1997, Malala was welcomed into a family that held a special reverence for education. Her father, Yousafzai, was a poet and an educator, a man whose love for knowledge was as vast as the emerald green valley they called home. Growing up, Malala's days were filled with simple joys. She revelled in the vibrant marketplace, took delight in the bustling streets, and was charmed by the radiant smiles of the townsfolk. The majestic peaks that encased their town stood as timeless guardians, their snow-capped summits reaching out towards the endless blue skies. Yet, for Malala, the heart of Mingora was her father's school. It was a place of laughter and learning, a sanctuary where she first discovered the power of words and the thrill of understanding. It was in these classrooms that she first dreamt of a future unhindered by the shackles that society often imposed on girls like her. Her father was her guiding star, a beacon of wisdom, and a symbol of defiance against the prevailing norms. His belief in her was unwavering, his words often echoing in her mind, "Malala, you are as free as a bird. You have the power to shape your own destiny." In the school corridors, amid lessons on mathematics, science and languages, a new language was shaping within Malala, the language of resistance. A language born from her father's unyielding belief in the power of education and nurtured by Malala's innate curiosity and fierce determination. Each day after school, she would help her mother in the kitchen, the scents of traditional pashto dishes wafting through their modest home. Afterwards, she would sit with her father, discussing their day, learning about the world, and soaking in the wisdom he offered. The moon would often rise to find them engrossed in passionate discussions about education, equality, and justice. But as the years passed, the vibrant landscapes of Swat Valley began to change. Mingora, once a town echoing with laughter and life, started humming with hushed whispers of fear. Yet this little girl, full of dreams and hopes, stood undeterred, holding tightly onto her father's words, as their peaceful world was about to collide with a reality they never envisaged. However, that is a tale for another time. For now, remember the young Malala, a simple girl from Mingora, who found joy in the simplest of things, and harboured an undying love for education, unknowing of the storm that was yet to come. In the heart of Mingora, as the seasons turned and the leaves rustled in the cool winds of change, a dark shadow began to creep into the verdant Swat Valley. A group known as the Taliban, a name that soon became synonymous with fear and repression, had started to tighten their grip on the region. Unseen but not unfelt, the Taliban's presence was like a frigid winter chill sweeping through the valley. The once vibrant town started to change, its warm rhythms giving way to a cold, oppressive silence. Markets gradually emptied, laughter faded, and fear began to taint the air of Mingora. Malala, then a girl blossoming into her early teens, felt this change acutely. She saw it in the cautious eyes of her neighbours, heard it in the hushed conversations of her parents, and noticed it in the increasing emptiness of her father's school. Yet it was the silence that spoke the loudest, a silence that hinted at the storm brewing on the horizon. The first waves of this storm crashed into Malala's life with a force that threatened to shatter her world. The Taliban had imposed a ban on girls' education. This was an edict that sought not just to close schools, but to extinguish the light of hope and possibility that education represented for girls like Malala. It was a command that struck at the very heart of Malala's dreams, but instead of crumbling, she stood her ground. For her, this was not just a ban on education. It was an attack on her freedom, her dreams, and her future. She saw it as a challenge that she needed to confront, a fight she would not shy away from. Her father, a man whose love for education had been the guiding force in Malala's life, was similarly distraught. His school, a sanctuary of learning and hope, was threatened with extinction. Yet he too refused to bow down to the terror of the Taliban. Instead, he stood as a beacon of defiance, his resolve reflecting in Malala's determined eyes. Every night, under the cover of darkness, Malala, her father, and some of the other brave girls continued their lessons, huddled together in their dimly lit home. They whispered in hushed tones, their voices a muted rebellion against the oppressive darkness of ignorance being enforced upon them. During the day, they would attend school under constant fear, each day uncertain if it would be the last time they'd sit in their beloved classrooms. The vibrant corridors of the school that once echoed with carefree laughter and fervent discussions now resounded with a silent prayer for safety and peace. This was a time of turmoil and fear, yet it also marked the birth of a courage that was as fierce as it was quiet. In the face of such adversity, the spark within Malala didn't extinguish. Instead, it caught flame, growing brighter and stronger. It was this burning desire for education, freedom, and justice that was slowly shaping the ordinary girl from Swat Valley into an extraordinary beacon of hope. But the journey was only beginning, and the road ahead was long and fraught with peril. In the quiet town of Mingora, beneath the majestic peaks of the Swat Valley, the bond between a father and daughter grew stronger in the face of mounting adversity. In a society that often sidelined its daughters, Malala found a fervent supporter and mentor in her father, Ziauddin Yousafzai. Their relationship was not just one of love and mutual respect, but also of shared passions and dreams, particularly for education. Ziauddin was not just a father to Malala, he was her teacher, her guide, and her staunchest ally. He was a man who believed in the transformative power of education, in its ability to liberate minds, and in its potential to shape futures. His passion for knowledge was infectious, his belief in the potential of his daughter unshakable. Malala, he would often say, his eyes gleaming with resolve, knowledge is the light that dispels the darkness of ignorance. Never let anyone take that light from you. These words, spoken with a gentle conviction, served as a guiding mantra for Malala. She clung to them as a beacon in the darkest of times. Their shared moments of learning were not just confined to the realms of academics. The father-daughter duo would often be found engrossed in profound conversations that transcended the typical boundaries of their society. They discussed politics, philosophy, human rights, and their dreams of a world where every child, regardless of gender, had access to quality education. It was this rich tapestry of discussions, this continual exchange of ideas and dreams, that had a profound impact on Malala's worldview. Her father's wisdom and teachings became the compass that guided her thoughts and actions. They shaped her into a young woman who was not afraid to question, to resist, and to dream of a better future. However, Ziauddin's influence extended beyond his teachings. His love for education was not just limited to words, but was deeply reflected in his actions. He ran a school that welcomed girls, fighting against societal norms and the menacing threats of the Taliban. His courageous stance in the face of fear was a living testament to his beliefs. His resolve, his defiance, and his unwavering commitment to the cause of education left a lasting imprint on Malala's young mind. Witnessing her father's unwavering dedication to education and his audacious resistance against the Taliban, Malala's respect for him deepened and her resolve strengthened. She learned from him not just the value of education, but also the cost of standing up for it. His courage and determination reflected in her, His teachings formed the foundation of her beliefs, and his resilience inspired her activism. As Malala grew older, the challenges that lay before them seemed to intensify. But every time she faltered, she found strength in her father's unwavering faith in her. He was her pillar of support, her beacon in the storm. In him, she found the courage to face the world, to stand up for her beliefs, and to become the change she wished to see. Thus, in the crucible of adversities, the ordinary girl from Swat was being moulded into an extraordinary champion of rights and education. But the trials had just begun, and the path was steep and treacherous. Yet, with her father's teachings engraved in her heart, and his faith in her echoing in her mind, Malala was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Chapter 2. The Voice of Resistance. As the ominous presence of the Taliban pervaded Swat Valley, the vibrant town of Mingora turned into a hushed shadow of its former self. Among the silent streets and shuttered schools, however, a singular voice began to rise, seeping through the cracks of oppression and fear, the voice of a young schoolgirl named Malala Yousafzai. Malala was just an ordinary girl, yet she bore an extraordinary resolve within her. In a society where girls were expected to remain silent, she decided to raise her voice. Amidst the stifling constraints of the Taliban rule, she discovered a platform that allowed her to share her experiences and thoughts with the world, a blog for the BBC. In the quiet, early hours of the morning, before the sun's rays swept over the Swat Valley, Malala would sit down at her humble desk, her heart brimming with thoughts, her fingers poised above the keyboard. Writing under the pseudonym Gul Mackay, she began to narrate the story of life under the Taliban's oppressive rule. Each word she typed, each sentence she formed, was a rebellion against the enforced silence, a testament to her unwavering courage. Through her blog, Malala gave the world an intimate view of life under the Taliban. She wrote about the closing of her beloved school, the fear that gripped her town, the dreams that felt suddenly out of reach, and the quiet acts of defiance that refused to be snuffed out. Her words, raw and real, reverberated across the world. They peeled back the curtain on a reality that had been hidden from the world, painting a picture that was as compelling as it was disturbing. She wrote about her longing for normalcy, her hunger for education, and her dream of a Swat Valley free from the clutches of the Taliban. Malala's diary became a symbol of resistance against the Taliban's oppressive rule. Through her blog, she demonstrated the power of the pen, the significance of raising one's voice, and the impact of standing up for one's beliefs. Her words became a beacon of hope for many and a stark reminder of the grim realities for others. Every day, as she poured her thoughts into her blog, Malala was acutely aware of the risk she was taking, but she refused to be silenced. With each entry, she not only challenged the Taliban's oppressive edicts, but also highlighted the transformative power of education. Malala's blog was a testament to her courage, resilience, and unwavering belief in the power of education. It was her act of defiance, her peaceful protest against an unjust rule. Her voice, amplified by the power of the internet, began to resonate globally, marking the rise of a young, impassioned advocate for girls' education. Despite the ever-present danger, Malala continued to write. Through her words, the world got a glimpse into the resilience of the human spirit, and a quiet revolution began to stir. The journey, however, was just starting. Malala's voice was growing louder, but the looming threats were growing darker. The stage was set for a young girl's courage to be tested like never before. As the shadows of the Taliban's tyranny loomed over the Swat Valley, a new force was beginning to emerge. Amidst the dark, oppressive clouds of fear, the voice of a young girl was breaking through, echoing across the globe. Malala's blog was her platform, her battleground, her peaceful protest against the cruel injustice around her. Her words, poignant and powerful, were resonating with millions across the world. As the impact of her blog spread, Malala's popularity grew. She became the face of peaceful resistance against the Taliban's oppressive rule. Her courage and determination shone like a beacon in the darkest of nights, inspiring countless hearts globally. However, with this rising recognition came an escalating risk. The very voice that brought her admiration from around the world was also drawing the menacing attention of the Taliban. The more her words spread, the more the threats against her escalated. The Taliban were not known for their mercy, and they viewed Malala's activism as a direct challenge to their authority. In her quiet home in Mingora, Malala could feel the danger closing in. She would hear whispers of threats, murmurs of caution, yet she refused to be silenced. Fear was palpable, yet so was her resolve. She knew the stakes were high, but she was also acutely aware of what silence would cost: the dreams and futures of countless girls like her. For Malala, the pen was mightier than the sword, and her words were her shield and her weapon. Every blog post she wrote, every interview she gave, every public appearance she made was an act of defiance, a challenge to the Taliban's regressive edicts. However, the risk was not just to Malala alone. Her family too found themselves under the threatening gaze of the Taliban. Her father's school was under constant scrutiny, and the safety of their home seemed increasingly fragile. It was a time of tension, a time of apprehension. Yet, in the face of these mounting threats, Malala and her family held steadfast, their belief in the power of education and the right to freedom undeterred. As Malala's popularity rose, so did the peril she was in. Each day was a dance with danger, each night a battle with fear. Yet, with the faith and bravery that had become her trademark, Malala continued her fight. She held on to her convictions, on to her dreams, refusing to be silenced, refusing to be afraid. But even as she stood undeterred, the threats around her were escalating. The young girl from Swat Valley, who had become a symbol of courage and defiance, was about to face a challenge so profound that it would change her life forever. The danger was escalating, but so was her resolve. The world was watching, holding its breath, as the story of Malala unfolded. The beautiful valley of Swat, once a haven of peace, was now a landscape marked by fear and turmoil. It was here, amid these tumultuous times, that an unthinkable act occurred, an act that shook the world and marked a turning point in the life of a young schoolgirl named Malala Yousafzai. It was an ordinary afternoon in October 2012. As Malala boarded her school bus after another day filled with learning and laughter, she was unaware of the imminent danger. The bus trundled along the rough roads of Mingora, carrying the chatter of schoolgirls, the buzz of their dreams, and the innocence of their youth. Suddenly, a man boarded the bus, his eyes scouring the crowd of young faces. He asked one chilling question: "Who is Malala?" Silence hung in the air, a silence that was broken by the deafening sound of a gunshot. A bullet, aimed to silence the voice that dared to speak out, struck Malala, marking a dark day in the history of humanity. The world gasped in shock and horror. News of the attack spread like wildfire, igniting an international outcry. The Taliban, in their attempt to silence one girl, had unwittingly amplified her voice. The attack on Malala was not just an attack on a person. It was an assault on the fundamental rights of every child to learn and to dream freely. In the face of this heinous act, the world united in support of Malala. Messages of solidarity, prayers for recovery, and condemnations of the attack flooded in from all corners of the globe. The attempt to silence Malala had, in fact, given her an even more powerful voice. Meanwhile, Malala, grievously injured yet unbroken in spirit, fought for her life. The bullet had caused severe damage, and she was airlifted to Birmingham, UK, for further treatment. The world watched anxiously, holding its collective breath, praying for the recovery of a girl who had come to symbolize the fight for the right to education. In the face of such brutality, Malala's courage shone even brighter. Her story, now etched in global consciousness, was a stark reminder of the ongoing fight for girls' education. The Taliban had intended to silence her, but their violent act only strengthened the resolve of a young girl and turned her into an international symbol of peaceful resistance. The attempt on Malala's life marked a critical juncture in her journey. It was a horrifying act that could have ended her fight. But in the face of terror, Malala remained unyielding. Her spirit was undeterred, her mission unbroken. The world was about to witness the rise of a force they had not foreseen, a force born of courage, resilience, and an unwavering belief in the power of education. Chapter 3: Road to Recovery. In the heart of Pakistan's scenic Swat Valley, amidst the backdrop of turmoil and terror, an unimaginable act of violence occurred. A gunshot rang through the air, aimed to silence a voice that had become a symbol of hope and defiance. The target was a young schoolgirl, Malala Yousafzai, whose only crime was her outspoken advocacy for girls' education. The bullet struck, leaving Malala in a critical condition. The severity of her injury was such that the limited medical resources in Swat Valley could not ensure her recovery. Her life hung in the balance, a fragile thread teetering between survival and a terrifying unknown. News of Malala's condition rippled through the international community, casting a gloomy shadow over the hearts of millions who had come to admire her courage. But amidst the despair, there was an outpouring of support and determination. The world rallied for Malala, willing her to fight, to survive. Seeing the gravity of her condition and understanding the immense symbol she had become, the Pakistani authorities, supported by international organizations, arranged for her to be transported to the United Kingdom for advanced medical treatment. The journey was fraught with anxiety. Every ticking second was crucial, every heartbeat a fragile echo of hope. Finally, the airplane carrying the wounded fighter touched down in Birmingham, United Kingdom. She was immediately rushed to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, a place renowned for its expertise in treating complex trauma cases. Here, amidst the bustling corridors and under the vigilant care of seasoned medical professionals, Malala's fight for survival took a new turn. The doctors worked diligently, their faces masks of deep concentration and steely determination. Every procedure was delicate, every decision critical. As Malala lay unconscious, her life teetering on the brink, her spirit remained undeterred. It was as if she was fighting her own battle, even while ensnared in the clutches of unconsciousness. News of her condition was broadcasted globally, her story reaching millions who prayed for her recovery. Candlelight vigils were held worldwide, prayers whispered in hundreds of languages, and heartfelt wishes sent from every corner of the world. The fate of the young education advocate was not just a matter of concern for her family and her nation, but for the entire global community. Days turned into weeks. The world held its breath as it awaited news of Malala's condition. The young girl from Swat, who had spoken out for the right to education, was now locked in the most important battle of her life, a battle for survival. It was a struggle that was about to test her strength, determination, and the unwavering resolve that had become her trademark. As Malala fought her fight, one thing was clear: her spirit was as resolute as ever. Even in her unconscious state, she seemed to embody a strength that transcended her physical condition. The road to recovery was long and uncertain, but Malala was not alone. Alongside her was an international community united in hope and prayer, supporting her every step of the way. As the frail body of Malala Yousafzai lay in the sterile confines of a hospital in Birmingham, the world watched and prayed. She was thousands of miles away from her beloved Swat Valley, a place whose memories were etched deep within her heart. However, this foreign land, with its unfamiliar sights and sounds, was to become her new home. Accompanying Malala were her parents and two younger brothers. As they stepped off the plane into the chilly Birmingham air, a wave of anxiety washed over them. They had left their home, their community, and their familiar way of life behind. Ahead of them lay a journey filled with uncertainty, as they had to adapt to a new culture, a new language, and a new lifestyle. The city of Birmingham, with its sprawling urban landscape, was starkly different from the scenic Swat Valley they had left behind. The Yousafzai family had to navigate unfamiliar streets, decipher a different language, and adjust to an entirely new way of life. It was a daunting challenge, but their primary focus remained on the recovery of their daughter and sister Malala. Life in Birmingham was a whirlwind of hospital visits and adaptation challenges. As Malala's parents spent their days by her hospital bedside, her younger brothers had to adjust to a new schooling system. They had left their friends and classmates behind in Mingora. Here, in this unfamiliar city, they were the new kids, trying to find their footing while carrying the weight of concern for their sister. While Malala lay unconscious, battling for her life, her family found solace and support in the warm embrace of the local community. People from all walks of life, moved by Malala's story, reached out to offer help. Their kindness was a beacon of hope in an otherwise tumultuous time. As the days turned into weeks, the Yousafzai family slowly started finding their rhythm in Birmingham. Amid the hospital visits, they discovered the strength within themselves and the compassion within others. Despite the challenges and uncertainties, they remained resilient, their spirits bolstered by the global outpouring of support. While Malala continued her fight, her family stood like pillars of strength by her side, their hearts buoyed by the hope of her recovery. In the midst of this foreign city, the Yousafzai family was creating a new home, driven by their love for Malala and their faith in her indomitable spirit. The road to recovery was indeed long and winding, but together they were ready to brave the journey. In the bustling city of Birmingham, nestled within the walls of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, a battle was being fought. A battle that was not just about survival, but also about determination, courage, and an unwavering spirit. The warrior at the heart of this battle was Malala Yousafzai, a young girl from the Swat Valley whose voice had reached the far corners of the world. Malala's physical injuries were severe, a chilling reminder of the violent attempt to silence her. But beneath the surface, her spirit remained undeterred. Even as she lay on the hospital bed, the seeds of determination were sprouting within her. She may have been physically weakened, but her will to continue her fight for girls' education was stronger than ever. As her body slowly began to heal, Malala's mind was already racing ahead. The walls of the hospital room bore witness to her resilience. The Taliban had hoped to extinguish her voice, but instead they had sparked an even greater determination within her. Every step of her recovery was a testament to her indomitable spirit. From relearning to walk to uttering her first words after the attack, Malala faced each hurdle with remarkable strength. She was not merely a survivor, she was a fighter, a beacon of resilience, shining brightly in the face of adversity. News of her recovery and her relentless spirit spread, touching millions around the world. Letters of encouragement and messages of solidarity poured in, each one adding to her strength. The bullet had failed to silence her. Instead, it had amplified her message and further cemented her resolve. Malala's journey was more than just a physical recovery. It was a reiteration of her commitment to her cause. She understood that her fight was not over. In fact, it had taken on a new dimension. She was not just fighting for girls in Swat Valley now, but for every girl who had been denied the right to education. The hospital room in Birmingham bore witness to the remarkable transformation of a young schoolgirl into a global symbol of resistance. As Malala's strength returned, so did her voice, louder and more determined than ever. Her spirit, ever resilient, shone through every part of her recovery. The Taliban's attempt to silence her had failed. If anything, they had given her a louder voice, a broader platform, and a stronger resolve. As she prepared to step out of the hospital and into the world, she knew her journey was far from over. Her fight was just beginning, and she was ready for it. Malala Yousafzai, the young girl from Swat, was now a global symbol of peaceful resistance and undying resilience. The world was waiting, ready to listen to her voice once again. Chapter 4. Champion for Education. In the bustling city of Birmingham, within the confines of a humble residence, a miracle unfolded. After months of grueling recovery and relentless determination, Malala Yousafzai was ready to take her first significant step towards normalcy. She was ready to go back to school. Her first day of school marked more than just a return to education. It was a celebration of her resilience, a testament to her courage, and a symbol of her unwavering commitment to her cause. Dressed in her new uniform, her school bag slung across her shoulder, Malala stepped onto the school bus. The action was simple, ordinary even, but it carried a profound significance. It was her silent defiance to those who had tried to silence her, a statement that she would not be deterred from her path. The halls of Edgbaston High School for Girls buzzed with anticipation and admiration. As Malala walked through the corridors, she was just another student, yet her journey had inspired millions around the world. Her classmates knew her story, the teachers knew of her courage, and they all welcomed her with open hearts. Every lesson she attended, every word she scribbled in her notebook, was a reaffirmation of her right to education, a right she vowed to secure for every girl. The joy of learning that had been stolen from her by a bullet was now hers again, and she savoured every moment of it. As she reacquainted herself with the rhythms of school life, Malala also became increasingly aware of the platform she had been given. Her voice, once shared with the children of Swat Valley, was now heard globally. She realized that her struggle was not hers alone. It was the struggle of millions of girls who were denied the right to education. Buoyed by this understanding, Malala made a solemn vow. She would continue her fight for girls' education. She would use her voice, her story, and her platform to champion the cause that was so close to her heart. She was back in school, but her education went beyond the textbooks. It was an education in courage, perseverance, and advocacy, lessons she was ready to share with the world. Her triumphant return to school was not the end of her journey. It was merely a milestone, a crucial point that marked her recovery and signified her readiness to continue her mission. Malala Yousafzai, the schoolgirl from Swat Valley, was now Malala Yousafzai, the global champion for education, and she was just getting started. In the aftermath of the attack that shook her life and the world, Malala Yousafzai emerged not only as a survivor, but as a beacon of hope and resilience. Her story transcended borders and cultures, creating ripples of inspiration that gave birth to a new movement for girls' education. Central to this movement was a significant milestone, the establishment of the Malala Fund. Founded in 2013, in the wake of her recovery, The Malala Fund became a concrete symbol of Malala's commitment to the cause she nearly gave her life for. But it was more than just a symbol. It was a tool, a vehicle for change, and an embodiment of her mission to see every girl in school. At the heart of the Malala Fund was a simple yet powerful mission: to champion every girl's right to 12 years of free, safe, quality education. Guided by this mission, Malala and her team began to direct their efforts towards breaking down the barriers that kept millions of girls out of school. In its early days, the fund focused on investing in local education activists and advocacy efforts in countries where girls' education was most at risk. From Pakistan to Nigeria, from Syria to Brazil, the Malala Fund sought to support the people and initiatives that understood the local challenges and were capable of driving sustainable change. Each project the fund undertook represented a step towards equality in education. Whether it was facilitating school access for Syrian refugee girls or supporting programs for girls in regions of Pakistan most affected by terrorism and displacement, the Malala Fund was making its mark. Each girl that attended school as a result of these initiatives was a testament to the fund's impact and Malala's vision. However, the fund was not just about financing projects. It also took on an advocacy role, using Malala's voice and story to influence policy and public opinion. Malala, once a blogger voicing her fears about losing her education, was now an international advocate, urging world leaders and policymakers to prioritize girls' education. The establishment of the Malala Fund marked a new chapter in Malala's fight for education. It was an affirmation of her belief in the transformative power of education and a commitment to making this power accessible to every girl. The fund's early achievements were just the beginning. As it grew, so did its potential to bring about the change Malala had dreamed of when she started her blog as a young girl in Swat Valley. Her journey was far from over, but with every step, she was getting closer to her vision of a world where every girl could choose her own future. As Malala Yousafzai settled into her new life in Birmingham and returned to school, her fight for girls' education had far from quieted down. Rather, it had taken on a global scale. From the hallways of her school to the corridors of power, Malala was a voice that demanded to be heard, an advocate that would not rest until every girl had the right to education. Malala's story had touched hearts and minds across the globe, drawing attention to the plight of girls who were denied an education. World leaders, celebrities, and influential figures rallied around her cause, amplifying her voice and bolstering her efforts. Her advocacy work had begun to move the gears of power and policy, influencing decisions that could bring about significant change in the world of education. High-profile supporters, such as former United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon, revered Nobel laureate Desmond Tutu, and influential personalities like Angelina Jolie lent their voices to her cause. The spotlight was on Malala and the fight for girls' education, igniting conversations and actions that had the potential to bring about lasting change. One of the most significant moments in her advocacy work came in July 2013, when Malala delivered a powerful speech at the United Nations on her 16th birthday, now known as Malala Day. Dressed in a pink shalwar kameez, Malala stood before an international audience, her voice steady, her message clear. One child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can change the world. Her words reverberated through the UN General Assembly Hall and around the world. It was a compelling call to action that stirred world leaders, influenced policy changes, and spurred global support for girls' education. In the months and years that followed, Malala continued to advocate for girls' education on the global stage. She travelled to countries like Nigeria and Jordan, meeting girls affected by conflict and displacement, and speaking up for their right to education. Wherever she went, Malala carried with her the stories of the girls she fought for, giving them a voice on the global stage. Malala's international advocacy work was a testament to her unwavering commitment to her cause. Despite the enormity of the task at hand and the obstacles in her path, she pressed on, propelled by the belief that every girl deserved the right to education. Her voice, once stifled by a bullet, had now become a roar, a rallying cry for a global movement that sought to break down the barriers to girls' education. Malala Yousafzai, the girl from Swat Valley, had become a global advocate, a champion for education whose fight was far from over. Chapter 5. The Youngest Nobel Laureate. As the world watched Malala Yousafzai's fearless advocacy for girls' education unfold, there was an undercurrent of anticipation and speculation that grew stronger with each passing day. The girl from Swat Valley who had stared down the Taliban, who had survived an assassination attempt, and who was now a global figure advocating for girls' education, was becoming a strong contender for one of the world's most prestigious accolades, the Nobel Peace Prize. In the months leading up to the nomination, Malala's name had been increasingly associated with the award. Her extraordinary courage, her unfaltering resolve, and her significant contributions to the fight for girls' education had captured the attention of the international community. Discussions were rife with speculation and hope that the Nobel Committee might recognize her efforts with a nomination. Then, in February 2014, the moment arrived. The Norwegian Nobel Committee announced the nominees for the Nobel Peace Prize, and among the names was Malala Yousafzai. The news made headlines worldwide. It was an acknowledgement of her struggle, her courage, and her impact. The nomination was historic. At just 16 years old, Malala was the youngest person ever to be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. The world, which had watched her journey from a young blogger in Swat Valley to an international advocate for girls' education, now watched with bated breath as she stood on the threshold of an extraordinary honour. The nomination was more than just an individual recognition. It was a powerful validation of Malala's cause. It brought a global spotlight to the fight for girls' education, emphasizing its significance in the pursuit of peace and development. As the youngest nominee, Malala also symbolized the potential and power of young voices in effecting change. The announcement set the stage for what would be a momentous event in the history of the Nobel Peace Prize and in Malala's life. As the world looked on, it wasn't just about whether Malala would become the youngest Nobel laureate. It was about a global acknowledgement of the fight for girls' education and the remarkable young woman who had become its most influential champion. On a crisp, clear day in December 2014, the world turned its attention to the city of Oslo, Norway. The Nobel Peace Prize award ceremony was about to take place. Among the esteemed guests was a 17-year-old girl from Swat Valley, Pakistan, named Malala Yousafzai. The Oslo City Hall was abuzz with excitement, anticipation, and respect for the young laureate who had shown extraordinary courage in the face of adversity. As Malala, dressed in a vibrant shalwar kameez and a headscarf, entered the grand hall, she carried with her the hopes and dreams of millions of girls around the world. The moment was historic. Malala was not just the youngest person to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, but she was also the first ever Pakistani to be awarded this honour. As the Nobel Committee chairman presented the award to Malala, a hush fell over the hall. The girl who had refused to be silenced had now etched her name in the annals of history. But it was Malala's acceptance speech that truly captured the essence of the moment. Standing before a global audience, Malala delivered a poignant speech that echoed her unwavering commitment to the cause of education. "I am those 66 million girls who are deprived of education," she said. "And today I am not raising my voice. It is the voice of those 66 million girls." Her words were powerful, resonating with the undeniable truth of the challenges facing girls seeking education worldwide. She spoke not just for herself, but for every girl who had been denied the right to learn. She acknowledged the struggle, the hurdles, and the work that remained to be done, but her message was filled with hope and resilience. Malala's speech was more than just an acceptance of an award. It was a call to action. It was a plea to world leaders, educators, parents, and children to believe in the power of education and to work towards making it a reality for every child. As Malala concluded her speech and left the stage, the audience rose in a standing ovation. It was not just an applause for the youngest Nobel laureate, but a recognition of the immense impact she had made and the monumental task that lay ahead. It was an acknowledgement of her message, that one child, one teacher, one book, and one pen can indeed change the world. As Malala Yousafzai held the Nobel Peace Prize in her hands, the weight of the award symbolized not just her own journey, but the struggle of millions of girls worldwide who were fighting for their right to education. She stood as a beacon of hope, a testament to the fact that even the most formidable obstacles could be overcome. The significance of Malala's win resonated far beyond the Grand Hall in Oslo. It represented a global recognition of the importance of girls' education and the stark challenges that hindered it. The Nobel Peace Prize sent a message to every corner of the world that denying education to girls was a violation of their rights and a barrier to peace and progress. In many ways, the award wasn't just for Malala, but for every girl who had ever been told she couldn't learn, for every student who had ever had to fight for her right to go to school, for every parent who had ever dreamed of a brighter future for their daughter. It was a shared victory, a moment of triumph that echoed in classrooms, homes, and communities across the globe. Yet, even as she accepted the prestigious award, Malala's focus remained firmly on her mission. The Nobel Peace Prize, while a significant achievement, was not an end but a means, a powerful platform from which she could amplify her message. In the days, weeks, and months that followed the award ceremony, Malala showed the world what it truly meant to be a Nobel laureate. She continued to advocate for girls' education with unwavering commitment, using her newfound influence to bring attention to the cause. The girl who had once blogged anonymously about her life under the Taliban was now addressing world leaders, urging them to prioritize education in their policies and actions. While the world celebrated her achievement, Malala understood that her work was far from over. She knew that the real victory would come when every girl could go to school, when every child could learn without fear. And so she pressed on, guided by her belief in the power of education and the conviction that every girl deserved the chance to realize her potential. In reflecting on her historic achievement, Malala's story serves as a powerful reminder of the role that individuals can play in effecting change. It illustrates the potential that resides in each of us, regardless of age or circumstances, to stand up for what we believe in and to make a difference in our world. Malala Yousafzai, the youngest Nobel laureate, remains a beacon of resilience, courage, and hope, her life a testament to the transformative power of education. Chapter 6. A Continuing Journey. In the autumn of 2017, Malala Yousafzai embarked on a new chapter in her extraordinary life journey. Accepted to one of the most prestigious universities in the world, Oxford University, Malala was now stepping into a role many young people dream of, a university student. But for Malala, this was more than just an opportunity for higher education. It was another step forward in her mission to champion the importance of education for girls around the world. When Malala first set foot on the Oxford campus, she carried with her the experiences and lessons learned from her life in Swat Valley and her global advocacy work. As she settled into her studies in philosophy, politics, and economics, PPE, Malala embraced the intellectual challenges and rigours of university life with the same determination that had guided her activism. Oxford University, with its rich history and diverse student body, offered Malala a unique platform for learning and growth. Surrounded by students from different countries and cultures, Malala's perspectives on the world continued to evolve. She engaged in intellectual debates, shared her experiences, and learned from the stories of others. Every conversation, every lecture, every assignment added a new layer to her understanding of the world's complexities. But amidst her academic commitments, Malala never lost sight of her mission. She continued her advocacy work, balancing her studies with her responsibilities as a global ambassador for girls' education. She used her experiences at Oxford to inform and enhance her activism, deepening her understanding of the political, economic, and social factors that influenced education. One of the key experiences during her time at Oxford was her active participation in the Oxford Union, a debating society known for its vigorous intellectual debates. Here, Malala honed her oratory skills, articulating her views on a range of subjects with the same passion and conviction that had defined her advocacy work. Life at Oxford wasn't just about academics and activism, though. Malala also experienced the simple pleasures of student life. From making new friends to exploring the historic city, she cherished the opportunities that university life provided. Her social media posts, featuring images of her reading in the college library or celebrating the end of exams, offered glimpses into these moments. As Malala navigated her way through Oxford University, her journey represented more than just personal growth. It symbolized the very cause she had been championing, the power of education to transform lives. For the young girl who once had to fight for her right to go to school, being at Oxford was a testament to her resilience and an affirmation of her belief in education. Malala's time at Oxford University was more than just a chapter in her life. It was a milestone in her continuing journey, a reaffirmation of her commitment to her cause, and a powerful statement to the world about the transformative potential of education. While education advocacy remains at the heart of Malala's identity, there is so much more to this young woman than meets the eye. Malala Yousafzai is not just a global ambassador for education, a Nobel laureate, or an Oxford graduate. She's also a voracious reader, a cricket enthusiast, a lover of Pakistani cuisine, and a young woman navigating the complexities of life in the public eye. One of Malala's passions is reading. She often shares her love for books with the world through social media. From classics to contemporary fiction, biographies to philosophical texts, Malala's eclectic reading list reflects her curiosity about the world and her interest in understanding diverse perspectives. Malala is also a sports enthusiast, particularly fond of cricket, a sport she grew to love during her childhood in Pakistan. Whether it's supporting her favourite team or discussing the finer points of the game, Malala's passion for cricket provides a connection to her roots and a way for her to unwind from her advocacy work. Food, too, plays a significant role in Malala's life. Growing up in a region known for its rich and flavourful cuisine, Malala has a deep appreciation for Pakistani food. She's often spoken about her love for chapli kebabs and Peshawari naan, traditional dishes from her homeland, and the comfort they provide. These interests, though seemingly ordinary, add layers to Malala's character. They offer insights into the person behind the public figure, painting a picture of a multifaceted young woman who, despite her extraordinary experiences, shares many similarities with others her age. But life for Malala is not without its challenges. Being a public figure, especially one who has experienced such dramatic events, brings its own set of complexities. From managing her safety to dealing with public scrutiny, These realities of life in the public eye are a part of Malala's journey. But through it all, she remains grounded, guided by her purpose and the support of her family. By exploring these different aspects of her life, we gain a more comprehensive understanding of Malala. We see her not just as an activist, but as a multifaceted individual with her own set of interests, challenges, and experiences. It's this fuller picture of Malala that gives us an even greater appreciation of her journey and the extraordinary resilience and determination she has shown at every step. Malala Yousafzai, having achieved so much at a young age, stands at the threshold of her future, looking out at a world that still grapples with the issue she has dedicated her life to addressing, girls' education. Despite the progress made in the past decades, the fight for girls' education is far from over. Millions of girls worldwide still face barriers to education. Poverty, gender discrimination, early marriages, armed conflict, and cultural norms continue to deny girls their right to learn. Moreover, new challenges have emerged. The global pandemic, for instance, has exacerbated the education crisis, pushing many girls out of school and into uncertainty. In this complex landscape, Malala's role is more critical than ever. As a symbol of resilience and an advocate for change, Malala continues to champion girls' education, using her influence to spotlight the issue and drive action. She underscores the urgency of the problem, highlighting the fact that every moment of inaction results in lost opportunities for girls. Through the Malala Fund, she pushes for policy changes, funds education initiatives, and supports local advocates in countries where girls' education is most at risk. The goal remains the same as it was when she was a young girl writing a diary under her pseudonym, to see every girl in school and learning. In her personal capacity, too, Malala continues to advocate for girls' education. Whether it's through speeches at international forums, meetings with world leaders, or posts on social media, Malala keeps the issue at the forefront of global consciousness. She uses her platform to amplify the voices of girls, sharing their stories and their struggles with the world. But Malala's vision for the future extends beyond advocacy. She has spoken about her aspirations to return to Pakistan and to serve her country. Whether that's in the field of education, politics, or social work, her desire to make a difference remains her guiding force. The future of the fight for girls' education is fraught with challenges, but with advocates like Malala, there is hope. Her journey serves as a powerful reminder of what can be achieved when we stand up for our beliefs. As she steps into her future, Malala carries with her the same courage, resilience, and determination that has defined her life. And as she continues her fight for girls' education, she inspires us all to join her in creating a world where every girl can learn and lead without fear.